Our Bible text is Matthew 26, verse 26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to the disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." So we are at the account of the Last Supper, that Passover meal that Jesus celebrated with his disciples in Jerusalem. And of course, there are different accounts of it. We have of it in the Synoptic Gospels, in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and also an account that's very similar to the one we find in Luke is what we find in 1 Corinthians 11, verses 23 to 24, etc. So, importantly in this meal is that Jesus celebrates the Passover meal or the Passover feast with his disciples, and then Jesus reinterprets it, because where it referred to an act of redemption in the past, now Jesus associates this meal with himself and what Jesus is accomplishing. So there are two things that goes on in our present textual unit. The Passover meal, as it relates firstly to this act of redemption that Jesus is accomplishing. It's the new Exodus that's being launched now, and that is rooted in Exodus 12. And then secondly, what Jesus also refers to in this meal is that he will perform a new covenant sacrifice, because it's rooted in the covenant sacrifice that Moses made, and we can read about that in Exodus 24. So the disciples of Jesus asked him, where you want to celebrate the Passover? Jesus gives them instructions, go into the city, and he will take you to a place. It's traditionally associated with, the upper room where Jesus celebrated his last meal with his disciples. And these disciples then went to prepare the meal. So they would prepare all the ingredients, the bitter herbs, the bread. They would have gone to the temple where the lamb, the Passover lamb, would be sacrificed, and they will go and cook it and get the furniture and everything ready for Jesus and the other disciples to come, to recline and to eat. So after this preparation, Jesus comes with his disciples. They sit there. Of course, Jesus also announces here that someone's going to betray him. And the disciples wonder, who is it? Who is it? And of course, it comes out in the conversation that it will be Judas who betrays him. And that's probably specifically refers to where part of the meal where you dip some mashed fruit in bitter herbs, bitter sauce, where Jesus says he'll dip his food in a dish with me. And then Jesus goes on to speak about elements of the meal itself. So now let's focus more on just the Passover. It's also known as a Feast of Unleavened Bread. Now, if you look on screen, I'm trying to explain there the dynamics of the Passover meal and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. If we look on the left, the 14th of Nisan, that's according to the Gospels of Mark, Matthew, and Luke, the preparation for the Passover meal and the actual meal that Jesus had with his disciples took place on the Thursday evening. Now, in the Bible, days worked from sunset to sunset. So this might be a bit confusing, but bear with me. So on the 14th of Nisan, that's the Thursday, that was the day of Passover preparation. That's when the disciples would have slaughtered the Passover lamb, would have prepared the upper room with all the bread and bitter herbs, etc. And then on the Thursday evening, that's when the new day started, the 15th of Nisan. So that Thursday evening is when the Passover meal took place. And also at that same time, technically, it was also the start of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So if you read in the New Testament, it's variously called the Passover or the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It refers to that same time period that lasted 7 days. So the Passover meal inaugurated a time period where the Israelites or the Jews had to eat unleavened bread for 7 days because of it commemorated the the Exodus, that time when they had to eat unleavened bread because they had to leave Egypt in a hurry. So Passover meal and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, those were interchangeable terms because it basically referred to the same time period. Because it also says, if we go to Leviticus 23 and also Deuteronomy 16, it also specifically mentions there that the Israelites had to observe this Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days. But technically, it was also referred to as the Passover period. It was all about them remembering that when they departed from Egypt, that there was not enough time to leaven the bread. So the bread did not rise. So they had to eat unleavened bread. They had to leave Egypt in haste, in a hurry. So that's what it commemorated. So in the New Testament, variously, Passover is either called Passover or the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And so those terms are used interchangeably. And of course, it recalls God's act of redemption, where He delivered His people from slavery in Egypt. The Passover lamb was slaughtered. They had to put blood on the lintel and the door frame so that the angel would, or the homes would be passed over when the angel came and he smote the firstborn of the Egyptians. And the Israelites also ate the Passover lamb. If we go to Exodus 12, verse 8, it mentions there the main ingredients of that Passover meal that they ate. It says there, then they shall eat the flesh on that night. That's now the Passover lamb, roasted in fire with unleavened bread and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. So that's the meal that the Israelites ate just before they left Egypt and escaped. So those are the main ingredients of the Passover lamb. Then also today, if Jews celebrate the Passover meal, it's also called the Passover Seder meal. There is around 15 steps involved that they observe. And some of it corresponds to what would have happened at the time of Jesus. But today they also added extra steps, and they also will eat boiled eggs, etc. But back at the time of Jesus, it was basically, if you look at an overview, it consisted of the following things. The first thing is the first cup of wine. Because part and parcel of the Passover meal is that they also drank from 4 cups of wine. So at the first cup, the head of the family will pronounce a blessing over the first cup. And this would be followed by herbs that are dipped in a sauce. And those bitter herbs, they recall the bitterness of slavery. And it actually refers to stewed fruit, which had the consistency and color of clay. And so it evoked the image of making bricks as slaves. So, and also a blessing would be pronounced over the cup, and then this bitter herbs, this kind of mashed fruit would then be eaten. And then the next step is the second cup of wine. Then, after the second cup is ready, the youngest son will ask why this night is different from others, and why do they eat unleavened bread, etc. And this we find, if we go to Exodus 12, verses 26 to 27, we read there, and it shall be, when your children say to you, what do you mean by the service? That you shall say, it is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he struck the Egyptians and delivered our households. So at the second cup, the children would ask the father, the head of the household, why are we celebrating this? And like I said, it recalls what God has done for the people. We can also read about it in Deuteronomy 26, verses 5 to 11, where there's a short explanation of our father was a Syrian, that's Abram. Then the people went to Canaan and then went to Egypt, where they were treated as slaves, where they called out to God for help and they were delivered. And then they came and inherited the promised land. So that's at the second cup. The young children ask why we're doing this, and then the father, the head of the household, will explain why they do so. The next step would be the main meal, and this is where the bread, the unleavened bread, is eaten, and also the paschal lamb. And our Bible text refers to Jesus, where he took the bread and blessed it. And the blessing over it the bread would be something like, "Praised are you, Lord our God, King of the world, who makes bread to come forth from the earth." And that's normally answered by an amen. And then the bread would be broken. It's called matzah, the unleavened bread. It's spread along all those there who are dining, and they will eat of it. And also, of course, of the paschal lamb. The next step is then the third cup of wine. This is also called the cup after supper. And this is also a blessing is spoken over this cup, something like, "Praised are you, Lord our God, King of the world, who creates the fruit of the wine." So this is called the cup after supper, or also the cup of blessing. And this is the cup of wine that was celebrated after the main meal. And there's also where Jesus did something significant here, but we will return to that. Then lastly, there's the fourth cup of wine. That's just to close off the Passover meal, and this would be normally followed by the singing of the Hallel, the hymns of praise. That refers to Psalms 113 to 118. Now, there's two significant events that Jesus did here. If we go back to step number 3, the meal, that is where where the blessing is spoken over the bread, etc. But then Jesus reinterprets it around himself. And that's our Bible text also. Let's first read our Bible text. "And as they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to the disciples and said, 'Take, eat, this is my body.'" So we can see here Jesus takes the Passover meal and he reinterprets it around himself. He says, this bread, it's his body. And of course, it's rooted in the Exodus tradition. This is a new act of redemption. This is a new Exodus where it represents Jesus offering his body also, his body that will be crucified. At the third cup, the cup after supper, or the cup of blessing, Jesus again reinterprets that cup of wine, because he says there, "Drink from it. This is my blood of the new covenant." Again, it refers to Jesus making a sacrifice. This is again a new kind of act of redemption. If we look at those two aspects again, the Passover meal, it's an act of redemption because it's a new Exodus is happening here. The celebration of Passover, Jesus says there's a new Passover happening here. He's a sort of new Passover lamb. There's new bread that's being broken here. It's his body, and that's rooted in Exodus 12. And secondly, it's the new covenant sacrifice, where Jesus says, "Drink from it. This is my blood of the new covenant." And that aspect, "this is my blood of the new covenant," goes back to Exodus 24. In Exodus 24, it recalls this is just after the Israelites left Egypt. And now Moses read to them God's law, and the people said, "Yes, we will do this." And then Moses he ratifies that agreement by covenant, making a covenant sacrifice. And he offers whole burnt offerings and peace offerings that would probably been bulls. And then he takes blood of these animals, half of it he pours over the altar, and the other half he sprinkles over the people of Israel. It's a sign of a covenant agreement now. This is between you and God. You've agreed to this covenant. If you go read there from verse 6, "And Moses took half the blood and put it in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant and read in the hearing of the people. And they said, 'All that the Lord has said we will do, and be obedient.' And Moses took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, 'This is the blood of the covenant, which the Lord has made with you according to all these words.'" So just like Moses initiated a covenant with the people there at Mount Sinai, now Jesus is also making part of his sacrificial offering is a new covenant, is now being inaugurated by him. Like he said, "Drink from it. This is my blood of the new covenant." So that's now the third cup, the cup after supper, where Jesus also reinterprets this, the whole Passover meal around himself and his act of redemption and his sacrifice that he is accomplishing now. Of course, also blood was connected to life. That's where the life force came from people and animals, but also blood was connected with sacrifice, making sacrifices. So that sacrifice of Moses, that covenant sacrifice, would have also been understood as a kind of sacrifice of atonement. In other words, where sins are forgiven. But now it's reinterpreted around Jesus. Because also the temple sacrifices, there were also other sacrifices of atonement where blood was used. It was rubbed on the horns of the altar. It was poured out at the basin, and other things were also done with the blood. But blood in Scripture, in the Israelite tradition, was associated with atonement, sacrifices of atonement, and also forgiveness of sins. So here Jesus reinterprets this whole Passover element and the cup of wine specifically with him, that the wine now represents his blood. So if we read this part of Matthew, that's from Matthew chapter 26, verses 17 to 30. This is the Passover meal of Jesus and his disciples. Remember, these two aspects come together. Number one, it's an act of redemption. Like God brought the Israelites out of Egypt, now through Jesus, God is bringing people out of the bondage of sin, so to speak. There's a new exodus that's happening now through Jesus. And the bread represents his body. And secondly, this is a new covenant sacrifice. Like Moses initiated a covenant sacrifice there at Mount Sinai, Jesus is now saying also that third cup of wine now, that also refers to his blood, his sacrificial blood. It's there for a new covenant, but also part and parcel of it, with it comes the forgiveness of sins.